Welcome to Creepy Confidential. I'm your host, Noelle, your resident weirdo Wisconsinite. I open case files on cryptids, cults, conspiracies, and other worldly creepy. With new cases, local lore, and live broadcasts. So get ready, creeps. It's Creepy Confidential. Sup Creeps? Welcome. Welcome to Creepy Confidential After Dark. No script, no rules. And today we welcome Mr. Michael Thompson. Very excited to have you.
Hello,
Welcome.
I'm thrilled to be here.
So Creeps, we bring you together with the Realm Hoppers. I am very excited.
Excellent.
So let's bring everybody else up to speed. Let me just get the comments here up so that we can actually see who's chit-chatting with us. So we actually connected at the Frogman Festival.
Yes.
Which I thought was very cool.
Fantastic
So
show.
This gentleman has it down. First of all, even if you weren't there for cryptids or author goodies, he has the bookmarks, he has the stickers, he has the talk about what he does, he has little extras. You like scooped me in for sure.
Thank you.
And my husband bought 2 books.
Yeah.
So you are pretty soon it'll be the like big where you see the big author like banners behind at Barnes and I think you've already been at Barnes and Noble, but big, think bigger.
Yeah. Thank you.
So before I get going, I'm obviously very excited about it. Tell the creeps a little about what you do.
Well, my name is Michael Thompson. I'm an independent author and illustrator from Northern Virginia, and I write all kinds of things. I've got superhero books for kids, like my Chicken Boy series. My first ever superhero series is about a chicken who eats a radioactive birdseed and becomes a superhero. And he and his buddies save the world from monsters and mad scientists in a town where nothing's ever quite normal. And after that, I moved on to novels. My first novel was World of the Orb. It's about 2 best
I saw
friends.
Pictures of that. I was intrigued.
Yeah.
We shall get to that.
Hi, Carolyn. This is kind of like your classic nice escapism book. It's about 2 best friends who sneak away from their group on a field trip to the Museum of Natural History and they discover the hidden world that the museum was desperately trying to keep secret. They're sent on a harrowing treasure hunt across these strange lands to find Earth again.
Nice. See, guys, he's got this down.
And then I know that your viewers are really going to like the Winslow Hoffner series, folkloric fantasy on the high seas, cryptids, sea monsters, epic urban legends a few have beheld, but there's one man who happens to have seen them all, the gallant fisherman, Winslow Hoffner.
Oh,
he's revealing his tales of adventure to a couple of journalists who discover their small harbor town's not quite what it seems, and maybe harboring incredible legends. And so it's like
I love that. And we have both of those. I'm excited.
Yes, this is the latest one right here. It just came out.
Very, very cool. And that's your treasure trove of books, right?
That is my trove. I've got 3 other Chicken Boy books, but that's the latest one that I showed.
Very exciting. Mr. Creep, so you met Mike, real tall guy. He has completed his children's book, and I can't wait. I can't wait for you to see it because it's not your typical book. I'm very excited. So all the stars are dead, plus Melodium House, plus GLH3 says, can't wait for World of Orb 2.
Oh, thank you, Joey.
Be your fans.
Yes.
These must be your fans.
Yes.
Another one. Loved World of Orb. Man,
thank you. Thank you, Carolyn.
You're hopping. This is your show now. No, I think that's fantastic. So
before the concert starts, is that my buddy Alex? Hey, Alex. Alex Petticoff from Small Town Monsters.
You got Small Town. I know who that is. I know you know everybody. Very, very cool.
Cryptid Bits, Jessica. Oh, hello.
I don't want these to get forgotten. So these were all like as we were starting.
That's
so I don't want to forget any. Oh, see, all of these. So I have one. There's Miss Joanna. She is the curator and the creator of GhoulieCon, which I went to.
Oh, cool. How was that?
So, it was, first of all, the location, fantastic. It's an old church.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the stairs that you had to carry your stuff up, not fantastic. But it's like a 2-level old steeple. It's got, the creaky wooden floors and everything. We did a brief paranormal investigation in the stairwell because that thing was hopping. I'm not a horror fan. I'm like a little kid brain. I don't do very well with horror. So I like the easy stuff. But everybody was so welcoming. Oh my gosh, I got to talk to all kinds of people, and they just don't talk about this slasher film is about blood, guts, and gore. Oh no, it's like it's like college level breaking down what the author meant, what this scene meant, what the underlining meaning of this was. I was like, you're talking about Chucky, you know. But it has like some social comment. I never would have thought that was the case. I
That's
learned
cool.
so much, and they were all very ordinary. They weren't like, well, not that those people are ordinary, but they weren't like running around with blood all over them. You know, it was a really good experience. So I ended up having 3 panels that I was a part of, which I wasn't expecting. I was for sure expecting one, which was the content creator panel, which went great. It was fun to meet other fellow creators, but in different areas. And then kind of just talked about what your favorite horror movie was, and kind of a brief breakdown. It was a lot. At the end of the 2 days, I was pooped. it was my first one.
Very cool.
So I want to start being able to come out of my little creepy hovel and actually not just be a researcher and a storyteller, but also meet everybody. So, because usually I'm the one who goes to them. You know, I'm the one who walks around and is geeking out with my bags full of things that you can see all around.
Great. Yeah, I love that Frogman poster there.
Yeah, that was from the first year.
Beautiful art. Yeah,
which I love. Yeah, I have all kinds of cool stuff. So, speaking of cryptids, so what got you interested in cryptids? Because you have 2 books that are more cryptid based, correct?
Yes, the Winslow Hoffner series is based on cryptozoology, real world fisherman folklore, sea legends, and
which all go hand in hand.
Yes,
I think the sea is covered in them.
Oh, definitely. It's the perfect environment to hide such fantastic beasts. And and I was always just fascinated by mythology and cryptozoology and reading those books at school and looking into those legends. And there was when it came time to write the Winslow Hoffner series, there was a single line that came through to me whenever I'm writing my stories. It usually comes through as a foundational image or like a foundational line. And with Winslow, it was a piece of dialogue from our main character saying, "Have you ever stared straight into the eyes of death and scoffed?" And I thought, ooh. And so I typed that in to a document. Yes, I have. I typed that into a document and saved it. And I didn't know who it was or who was speaking, but I knew it sounded really cool. And so eventually I got assigned, this was back in high school, I got assigned to write a short story. And I thought, let's dig into that. Let's figure out who was speaking and what the story is. And
like more like where it came from, like get it out.
I got the sense that it had to be like a man of the sea, and then what are the eyes of death, like and my foundational interest in cryptozoology bubbled back to the top, and I thought about different stories, and I was very interested in globsters. Are you familiar with that aspect of cryptozoology?
No, but you will notice. So I am a write the idea down right away kind of person. So I have to write that down. I have a horrible memory as well.
Yes. So a globster is a portmanteau between glob and monster. And this is essentially anything that washed ashore that could not be easily identified, any sort of like organism. And there was a story of a globster called Gambo, which washed ashore in the Gambia in 1983. And it had a head like an alligator and this streamlined body like a dolphin. And people weren't quite sure if it was like the last of the mosasaurs or maybe some sort of prehistoric precursor to whales or something like that. But before
primordial.
Yeah, very primordial. And but before anyone had a chance to scientifically document it, it was chopped up, buried in the sand. The head was sold to a tourist and never seen again. And I thought, this is perfect. I can do whatever I want with this thing.
It can go anywhere.
Exactly, which I quite like creatively. And so the central figure right here on the front cover of the first Winslow Hoffner book.
Can you hold that a little bit closer for everybody? Because it's kind of far away. There we go. Perfect.
That's my version of Gambo, which I interpreted as a fire-breathing fish. And so I thought a perfect character for Winslow to be paired up with in that first chapter was a sort of skeptical journalist who would listen to Winslow's story and then sort of seep deeper and deeper into Winslow's more magical world. And that's the big theme of the first book is belief and sort of challenging the preconceptions of the world.
Yeah. Something that was noted to me by Mike was that your adjectives adjectives and your descriptive terms are fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
So I can imagine, like you said, it's literally like it's there for the taking, and you got to do absolutely anything and anywhere you wanted. It reminds me, like when you first described it, it's ocean wise. I think I see it more often than I've seen it on lake wise. But there's this kind of jelly, sludgy, but it almost could be something, but it's not. But it is. You know, it's very strange. It's just there's so much of the water that we just, it's impossible to find 100% of it, like all this time, and we have found this much of it. So I love that. I love the nautical tales. For as a Wisconsinite, we're more pinpointed to lakes
right.
than we were later. You know, I got to see more oceans, but lakes. And the Lake Winnebago monster was one that's had stuck with me forever, specifically Lake Winnebago. Now, I have a feeling Lake Winnebago sees all of the sludge from all of the paper plants and everything. I would highly believe that a Mothman type situation could occur with the whole, you know, poison mixed with person, mixed with bug.
Right.
That kind
Reality is getting all bent up.
Yeah, like comic books waiting to happen.
Exactly.
But the story of the Lake Winnebago monster goes all the way back, like times of native time, talking about eating moose and elk. Ooh. It's a fish. Like it's a fish.
Stunning.
Absolutely. And terrifying to know that I, have swam in those waters. Not much, because it's
you're brave.
Bad water. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy that all these water stories that you hear, I think there's way more out there cryptid wise than we get this much again of this, and you're never going to find every single cool little creature that's floating around in there.
Exactly. I mean, like when we had tsunamis and stuff, and then like 500 new species are discovered or something like that. Because
they basically like scooped it up from the bottom of the litter box and was like, here you go. It's crazy that that's all living somewhere. I mean, maybe it's good that some of it just stays where it is.
And all it takes for those to be a cryptid is for someone to see it once. Until
one time.
Until it's officially documented. So
it's so wild. Cryptids scare me and intrigue me and bring excitement all at the same time. In like reality. Yeah. Like the whole story of Mothman is to be there and to be where the cooling towers are, and where this whole Mothman thing could have actually happened. It's not a random story that happened on the other side of the globe.
Someone saw something.
Crazy. Yeah, someone saw it, and enough 4 people saw it, that it was such a story of those 4 people, racing down the back of the Chevy, and that whole story is bananas just to think of it. So we have, real quick, you're going to see some other comments pop up here. So going back to the horror thing, horror can be very deep, and The Silence of the Lambs and The Shining, it was all written author wise is insane. That what the inner workings of your author brains, I'm telling you, kind of scares me a little bit. So we have a question, or it might be towards you or towards me. Have you ever read Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Rime of the Ancient Mariner?
I have not. I have not.
Well, I think you have a book sounds
familiar, but
suggestion.
I will take a note of that. Thank you, Carolyn.
Bad luck at sea and such.
Perfect.
So that's I love when I get book like references or material that I don't have, which I've learned. I thought my library was big. It's not. It's not at all. So you have a good little compliment there. You work so hard. I think you do events all the
Chris.
time. And then one from this one, the Great Lakes are so large, anything could be there. I agree. And Lake Michigan acts like an ocean. It's not this nice, calm water. There are so many ships underneath there, bad things that have happened. The Great Lakes are scary. I think from someone who's been in the ocean a lot, the Great Lakes scare me at being in them way more than the ocean does.
J.A. Barrios, big horror author, by the way. Excellent books. He's got a great short story collection called Ravings of an Unsettled Mind. Very
Another
cool
book.
And you're definitely correct about the Great Lakes. We have one of the Great Lakes monsters in the first Winslow Hoffner book, Bessie. This one right here from Lake Erie.
Yeah, because there's Bessie and then there's Nessie. I have. And part of me was like, America just felt like they had to have
the
a story.
go-to naming convention. Yes.
It was like, was like, come on. Yeah. Like, wow, you guys really coming out of the box to name that one. Do you find with your creatures, are you inspired by, you were out on sea and you saw something strange, or do you just by reading? What's your inspiration?
It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of research. I'm
Yeah.
very fascinated by the sea. There's a nautical element to World of the Orb as well. The characters are kind of going on a voyage, and we see them on their travel paths. A lot like this cool map that's flying behind us here. Um, yeah, I love everything nautical. I'm utterly fascinated by it. But I will start drifting into more of the things that go bump in the deep woods,
Right.
at night.
Which are also terrifying.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're terrifying.
Going back to Mothman really quick, in 2019, I was doing some research for Winslow Hoffner too, because I had a scene that came to me, which was kind of a Mothman type creature for later on in the book. Sometimes I see the scene before I decide on which cryptid I'm going to use, and I just kind of assumed it would be Mothman. So I went to the Mothman Festival,
Right.
and
It's
I met Faye
bananas.
DeWitt, and I got to just sit and listen to her tell her story. She's one of the original Mothman witnesses, and she described it just stunning. I believe her. She told the story of what it looked like, and interestingly, unlike a lot of some of the modern interpretations of it, when she saw it, it had arms, legs, and wings, so 6 limbs in total, and of course those eyes and everything. And she described the skin as looking like the skin of a dinosaur, and she could see like veins moving
Oh, so
underneath.
she actually it wasn't just like kind of a figure over there or behind them. She actually saw.
Yeah, it like landed on their car. And she was a little girl at the time, and she told me the whole story. I thought it was fantastic. But as far as it kind of threw out what I was seeing in my head for the scene. And it's definitely very much inspired by the Mothman stuff. I can show you the picture from one of the later chapters of the second book. I won't
So
spoil.
did this woman's experience, did it happen?
There we
Oh,
go.
it's like, I love, so another like card, that's what I was wondering. Did this woman's experience happen pre or post the two couples?
Oh, this was during the main flap, as I understand it, of the original sightings. She's credited as one of the original witnesses. I think she was like 9 years old at the time.
Because the car, that's what's weird. The biggest one that they talk about, the very
Mhm.
first, so Mothman flew over, they were burying somebody. And then days later, but because they're just burying somebody, it wasn't a big deal. Days later is when the Chevy was chased with the two couples in the car.
Right. Yeah.
And then I'm wondering when hers happened.
I feel
I
like
don't
the
think I've wondered.
70s, and she was in the car, and they chased it up to like the TNT area. She said her brother was throwing rocks at it and stuff, and
Same area.
yeah,
So that one's came much later then, because the other one was back in the 50s.
right. I think this was the 70s.
Wow. But to have almost a similar experience
Right.
is like,
I
it's,
may be wrong. I may be misremembering, but
oh no, no,
Fade
that's
Fade
great.
Away, yeah,
Something for me to read. I
yeah.
remember this last year I went to the Mothman Festival. It was nuts. The first
Mhm.
year I
Oh, it's
went,
gotten
it was
so big, yeah.
perfect. Oh my gosh, it was perfect. The first time where it was, you could take your time, you could collect your books. I really just like to go there for the books. And it was insane. It was like you were just cows walking down the main street there. So I wonder if this lady, there was an older lady. Is she still alive? Do you know this woman?
I don't know which woman you're
I don't know.
talking about.
The one you just told me about?
Oh, Fade Away? Yeah, I think she's
Yeah.
alive. Yeah, yeah, I believe so.
Because I remember she was sitting there with her own table, no, nothing frills, no like thing over the top. It was just
It was
her
probably her, yeah.
book, and yeah, she was an old lady. So an older lady. I shouldn't say it that way,
Mhm,
but you know what I mean. So I'll have to look into that one. That's very interesting.
mhm, yeah.
There's so many. I think when you have these sightings, then it's hard to separate. Did she read about it? Because it happened with aliens too. Did she read about it? And then I'm not saying she made it up, but a lot of these things start popping up where you don't know if they're true.
Right.
I'm sure there was others where, is it because everyone wanted to be a part of it because it's so fantastical,
Mhm.
or not? I find it interesting because it happened when everyone saw a flying saucer. Everyone was all of a sudden abducted by aliens. All the stories were back to back to back where it went from zero to full tilt. And I'm like, well, did the aliens just show up? I doubt it. They just decided to take you for a ride all of a sudden. Do you have, speaking of Mothman and aliens then, Have you ever dabbled with like the alien subject?
Have I ever dabbled with aliens? I have kind of a funny alien story. It didn't turn out to be aliens, but I was on my couch late at night. This was pretty recently. Um, and my buddy calls me. It's like midnight, and he says to me, "Are you outside?" I look at my couch. I'm like, "No." He says, "Go outside." And so I go outside. I'm like, "I'm outside." He says, "Look up." I'm looking up. He's like, "Do you see it?" I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then he says, "I just saw a UFO." And he described it, and I was like, "Huh, that does sound crazy." He's like, "It was moving through the sky. It was like a noodle, and it's huge. It was outside the Earth's
A
atmosphere. I don't know what it was."
noodle.
And so then I started typing it in, and I eventually found pictures. I sent to him. I said, "Is this what you saw?" He's like, "Yes. What is that?" I said, "That's Elon Musk. That's the that's the satellite train for Starlink."
Well,
But
because
I
he's
had
been
never
like the
seen that either.
shapes of the spaceships for him
Mhm.
are just outside the box,
Right.
which I think a lot of people then are now associate. You know, they're like, "Oh, that's an alien." Like, no, it's just another interesting design by an engineer. You know, like he's just
Yep.
trying to be the next guy.
Yeah.
But
It's pretty
there are
wild. I
so
would have
many
thought that
shapes.
was a UFO too if I saw
You're
that.
right. You're like, what in the heck is that?
I feel like they need
But
to
there
tell
are a lot of
people, you
shapes.
know?
Yeah, you're like, I saw this flying noodle through the air. You know,
Yeah.
like they're gonna laugh you out of town. But there are a lot of shapes. I found I think there's one or two national registries, and you can search by the shape that you saw. So you know, diamond, circular,
Hmm.
bar. There's one that looks just like a bar. The three you see, like with the three aliens, the triangle. It's
Mhm.
it's crazy though. I think and you look at the pictures and you're like, well, I can't explain that.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like an Elon ship, and that was 35 years ago.
Yeah.
So I love that. I think it's so interesting. You have a couple questions, or you have a couple questions, but one that I want to put up here. It's kind of big,
Alright.
so you'll have to read it. Talking about writing, because this isn't
Alright.
just about me; it's also about you.
What's your thought process in the moment you decide to switch to a new genre of writing within fiction that you haven't tackled before? Does it take a lot of inspiration to tackle entirely new stuff? That's a good question. Um, Sometimes I like to bounce around between genres. It kinda keeps me mentally and creatively fresh. For instance, right now I'm writing, or I'm illustrating now. I'm in the illustration phase of my Chicken Boy books, and that's a completely
I
different
love
style.
that name.
Yeah, Chicken Boy. It was the first book I ever wrote, and I saw Mr. Erisich in the comments here. Thank you for popping in. Um, that's actually my fourth grade teacher. As my
Oh,
fourth
really?
grade teacher. Yep. And I created Chicken Boy in his class. Chicken Boy was the first character I ever made for a story, and yeah, so I'm now in the illustration phase of the. This might be an exclusive scoop. The
Ooh,
re-releases, the
Crepes, hang on. We're getting an exclusive scoop. Here we go.
the anniversary editions of the first three Chicken Boy books. Because I have here, I actually have this is what they sort of used to look like. This is the big sort of magazine sized Chicken Boys
I
back when
love
I
that
first
though.
started self publishing when I was just a teenager, and they're going to be a more industry standard size. And by resizing it, I have to re-illustrate everything because it creates more pages when the text gets squished and stuff, which is okay
Mhm.
because you know the illustrations have gotten more advanced and they're really cool. Illustration on every page. It's very action packed.
I
Uh,
love it though.
yeah, so
I
we're returning to that. Very
So
exciting.
now your teacher knows when you're supposed to be doing things, you were writing your books.
That was the assignment. When I was in the class I was in before his, I used to get in a lot of trouble for drawing during class. I couldn't help myself. I was always drawing. I was
You
good
get in trouble? Come
at, yeah,
on.
I used to get in trouble so much. I would do my work, but then I'd turn the sheet over and then I would just fill it with, you know, all kinds of epic battles and stuff. And my teachers before, you know, in like third grade didn't really like that. I had this one time I was drawing. It was after school. We were waiting for the bus, and a friend wanted me to draw one of my characters for him, and I did, but it was snatched out of my hands at the last second, and the teacher ripped it up and threw it over my face like confetti and said, "This is a distraction." And so I got
Yeah,
sent.
because that's great for a psyche of a third grader.
I know. Well, I just couldn't help myself, and so I kind of. But I got sent to summer school because of it. But it was a blessing because that's where I met Mr. A, who would become my teacher. And I remember I was sitting in his class. I had my hands folded. I said, I'm not going to draw. I'm not going to draw. And then
as you're like,
but then he comes to the front of the class and he says, all right, today we're going to write a comic book. We're going to draw a comic book. And I thought, I get to do this. And so that was our first assignment. And
That's
so
awesome.
every day in fourth grade, I was filling up my notebook with all these great ideas. And that's where, sort of my creativity was unfettered and unlocked.
Right? Just launched it. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it changed my life.
Little did that teacher that ripped it up in your face know that it was actually going to,
it was a blessing in
propel you. Yeah. into
this.
this.
It's all good. It changed my life. It was a positive thing. Ultimately,
I'm glad that you were so young and you could see it that way. Because I probably would still be angry. So we have, I think that it's good. Like how you say you change it up. It's if you drive away at the same subject for so long, it's like your brain is leaking out of your ears. So, and you completely lost the whole spark that you started with.
Yeah. So I guess the second half of the question was when tackling something you've never done before.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like to I always say, like, be the type of author that your story needs you to be, and so if you're calling in a certain direction, just, the first step is just to start and then see how it goes. Right. Because a lot of time and so far, each of the books have a different sort of unique voice and style, and it sort of just unfolds that way. And then just a lot of research, I remember for the Winslow Hoffner series, I was calling restaurants in Nova Scotia to, ask questions about fish,
So, now I'm curious. What kind, like fish that you eat or fish that they see?
Fish that you eat. There was, and I guess fish that you see. I was calling, it was interesting. It lined up in such a way that when the first book was about to be released in 2018, the release date was actually lining up to be the same date or the same part of the year that the characters were sort of going on the finale of their adventure. And there's some scenes in there with in this restaurant, this cook named Ken Keeley, who's one of the big sources of skepticism.
Ken Keeley sounds like a news anchor.
Yeah, he's got
Doesn't it?
He's the Irish cook of the shop of Keeley's Bayside Eatery. And he has a line where he says, "He just loved making me work with mackerel, don't you, Wins?" And so
mackerel.
And so I had to double check to ensure the validity of a single line. I spent hours on the phone trying to get the fishery, National Fishery, sort of whatever it's called, department of Nova Scotia, and I got bounced around a bunch of times. And I thought, okay, this is kind of taking a while. So why don't I just try calling a restaurant?
Right.
And so I looked at best restaurants in Nova Scotia, and I ended up calling two. One was called Salty's, and one was called the Five Fishermen, I think it was what it was called. I gave them a shout out when the book first came out. But it was cool. Hey, thank you, Jess. There's the Irish accent.
Someone's clocking your accent. Yep. I take it you know them.
Yep. And so I just called. I said, "Is mackerel in this time of year?" And he's like, "Who's asking?" And so I was like, and I explained. I said, "I'm an author from America, and I know this is a weird question, but I'm writing a book that takes place in Nova Scotia." And then we ended up asking about the weather, and because there was a big whiteout storm in the book, and in like late March is when the final adventure takes place with the Kraken. And I said, "How's the weather? Is it stormy? Is it all wintry?" And he's like, "Oh, we're about to get walloped." And I said, "Okay, all right, cool. This works for this."
You're like, "Thank you,
thank you." All kinds of weird stuff. I did some fun research for World of the Orb. Also, one of the main characters has a crossbow. Veronica, she's a huntress, and I never fired a crossbow. It's a fantasy crossbow in the book, like it reloads itself. But I wanted to, see what that felt like. So
you're like, I need to actually get the
feel. and it's cool. Experience is the paint with which you paint your stories. You paint pictures with words, and that's sort of how you go about doing that. And that was a pretty fun experience. I went. It was this little roadside shop. Hi, Jess. Thank you. And it was pretty funny because there was a kid who was running the I guess a young teenage kid who was running the place. He was younger than me anyway. And I said, hey, I gave him the whole spiel. I'm like, I'm an author. I'm doing weird research for a fantasy book.
You have like your script. Hello,
Yeah.
my name is Michael Thompson. I am from
Greetings and salutations.
Yeah.
And then I asked, and he's like, yeah, hold on. And he goes up to the middle of the story and he like tugs on a rope and then down folds this mattress with like a board behind it. and then gives me the rundown. And it was very cool. And so you get the smell of the metal snapping and sort of the sense of the force of the weapon and stuff. And it's cool. And then you adapt that for your fantasy world. Mm-hmm. And so I always try to, if I can, go out and attempt to learn or do the
well, I don't think you could get the proper description of something,
right?
Because if you fire any weapon, if you have never fired any of them, you have no idea the sound, the pressure, the smell, the like all the senses that happen, because there is, you have something that's wooden versus something that has a projectile, like that kind of thing. I think that's fantastic. More people need to do that, if anything, just for life experience, but also, but the word mackerel alone, like, makes me have a certain smell in my nose and I can't get it out.
Yep.
They have another bar. I'm not, many people, it depends on where you're from. There's certain things that are eaten in certain places.
Right.
The big one in Wisconsin typically is pickled herring.
I love pickled herring.
You got problems.
Oh, you don't like it? I eat that every single New Year's Eve.
Oh,
New Year's Eve snack.
I can't.
I think it's like symbolic of it's like a tradition.
Right, it's like stuff you have to do.
Yeah.
I've seen pickled herring, pickled mackerel before.
Mm-hmm.
I can do fish, but there's something, oh man. And if you try it, it's like you've eaten something awful and you can't get it out of your mouth.
I'm not too keen on the mackerel. I've had it smoked. It's kind of good, but it's kind of like it throws me off for some reason. So
yeah, because you're not supposed to eat it.
Yeah.
It's
Ken Keeley shares my aversion in book 1.
Yes. Every time I hear that name now, I'll be like, and next, Ken Keeley with the weather. I just can't help it. Now, do you have a specific research thing that you have done that like sits at the top of your list?
Specific research thing that I've done,
or maybe it wasn't research. Maybe something adventurous. I happen to see a picture of you with a gator. Is that real?
Yes, that's real. Wow, you did a deep dive. This is like a Hot Ones episode.
Hot Ones.
Looking through my Instagram. Yes, I wrestled an alligator once.
Okay, well, I want to know more about that because I love gators, but also
actually, you're right. That was a good experience because Winslow ends up, up upon the backs of these beasts of legends, getting dragged through lakes and oceans and whatnot. But I was hanging out with a buddy of mine, and it was St. Patrick's Day, and we were at the bar, and this was back in college, and he was like, Mike, you never do anything adventurous. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, you write all these books and stuff. That's nice and stuff. But you gotta live a little bit, man. You gotta get out of your cave.
Sure. Get out of your comfort.
And he's like, and I was like, what's the matter? What haven't I done? He's like, man, you wouldn't go skydiving with me. And I said, yeah, you're right. I don't want to do that. he's like, well, what would you do? And I said, I'd wrestle an alligator. He's like,
done.
And then his eyes glinted. He's like, what did you say? I said, yeah, I'd wrestle an alligator. I was born in Florida. I could do it. It's in my blood. And then he was like, and then
Gatorland's awesome.
His eyes twinkle and he holds me by the shoulders and he says, I'm going to find a way to make you do that. Don't you? I said, good luck. And then, that summer we were at Gatorland and in Florida.
Is that where you did it?
That's where we did it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I loved it there. Oh my God.
It was tamer than it used to be. Apparently they would go through all the methods of like, you would, how you would handle the tail and all this stuff. This one, you get to sit on it and
right. Hold its little face.
Hold its face.
Smile.
And smile for the camera. But the thing that I was stunned about was just how slimy it was. And I mean, it makes sense for something that's, so
kind of algify it,
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Perfect. And, but I just it has that sort of draconian visage of, sort of thick platiness. And I didn't expect it to be so slimy. So that was, that was a cool experience.
They're wicked animals.
Oh yeah, they're stunning. Instagram thinks I like them for some reason because I keep getting shown all these like crazy videos of
it's like you need to up the ante a little bit.
I keep watching it in awe, which is probably why the algorithm thinks I like it, but I'm just like, just stunned.
It was like, I know I'm like diving through because I do like to research. I find that there's something fun to that, but I had to know because I love gators. That was my jam. When I was stationed in South Carolina, I wanted wait out in the middle of the night looking for gators and ghost tours. Those are the two things that I pretty much did to keep myself occupied.
Very cool.
Next up,
ghost gators is what you got to see next. Is some ghost gators.
That's terrifying because you can't run from them.
They can swim through the air.
Although, can you imagine if they were like chomping at you and you're like, haha, you can't bite me.
Yeah, you're incorporeal.
Yeah. Then they suddenly appear. You're like, oh, hello, Jesus.
Like those memes where you're before the gate.
And out of there.
Yeah,
exactly. But speaking of ghosts, to do a little segue in, now for paranormal wise, I don't know your catalog when it comes to paranormal. Have you ever dove into that realm?
Yes, I not with the book so much, but I have seen my share of spirits. I've had personal experiences.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about putting that into your books?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a ghost book at some point, or exploring the supernatural in that sense, in that realm.
I think that because you can go anywhere. They can be historical, they can be modern. You're not
Certainly
limited. They can be bad.
I do have one really good story. When I was at college, this was sort of the end of the year banquet for for the class, and we did the sort of honors class. Oh, hi Kelly. Oh, thank you for popping in. And we did this class where we were presenting our sort of final senior projects and stuff, and it was all the different boards were on display of our different research projects. This was for a big research thing, and they had it was kind of nice and fancy, and they gave all of us different raffle tickets because they were going to raffle off prizes. They had a second prize and a big first prize. The first prize was an iPad, and this was shortly before I was about to publish my novel World of the Orb. I was working on it through college, and I was eventually, when I graduated, I went pedal to the metal and I got World of the Orb done. But a big part of writing that one was sharing it with my grandfather. My grandfather, I loved writing it, so just so I could hear him read it, because he had a great voice. And so I would prepare chapters,
my audiobook?
and then I would prepare chapters, and then I would bring them to him, and he would edit them, and he would read it. He would be one of my in-house editors. Nice. And then he passed away before the book was published. But I was at this banquet, and they were announcing these prizes with the raffles, and I don't think I've shared this anywhere before.
Man, I'm getting all kinds of scoops.
You're getting scooped. This is another exclusive for you. And they said, okay, everyone, hold on to your raffle tickets. We're about to do in an hour. We're going to do the big raffle. First prize is the iPad. They held it up and they sort of walked around with it.
Like Vanna.
I know. Yeah. And I was like, ooh. And I remember I was just imagining, because I was about to release World of the Orb and do all these different Comic-Con conventions is kind of one thing I was planning to do, which was different from like the little bookshops that I had done before. And I thought, oh, man, it would be great to have that. I could use that as a register when people pay with credit cards and stuff. I could get that because I had seen the ads for the Square card reader and stuff. And then audibly in my ear, not in my mind, I heard my grandfather's voice. And right to my left, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to get that for you." And to the point that I looked left, and it was a bustling place. There were tons of students there, but there was a blank space beside me. There was nobody there, and I was like, And I wasn't frightened or anything. I was like, sure. Let's see what happens here. And then so then a friend of mine, Ashley, was there too, and she comes up and stands next. I don't think I ever told her this, but she stands next to me, and she because they're about to do the raffle, and she says, "Oh, I forgot my forgot my raffle ticket at my door. Well, I hope you win. I said, we'll see,
Yeah.
And then they read the numbers, whatever it was. It was like 6, 5, 8, 2, 1. And then I was like, I won. She's like, what? And so I go up, and then they hand me second place, which wasn't the iPad. And I was like, oh, okay. That's still cool though. And so
Sure.
I get it was like a bag of coffee, a big thermos, and a little laser pointer, something like that. And I'm walking away, and she's like, I thought you got first place. I was like, yeah, I thought I got it too, but I think they're building up to it. And then
Yeah.
one of the organizers stopped me, and they're like, hey, did you just get your number called? I said, yeah, I got second place. They're like, no, you were supposed to get first place.
Oh,
And I said, oh, really? And I try to give them second place back, and they're like, keep that too. And I was like, no way. So
Grandpa with the clutch.
to this day,
Oh man.
that iPad is my register at book signings.
Well, now it's like good luck.
Yeah.
It's like I hope, for that sake, I don't know if you are that type of, I'm keep everything. Be like that. There's something to that.
Definitely.
The fact that you heard it.
That was the odd thing, that it was
makes it
audible
more rare.
physically. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
very
I
strange.
love it. That's a great story. In fact, it kind of gives me goosebumps thinking about it. I love it. You have, because you didn't share that one with me
No, yeah.
pre
Yeah,
this.
I just thought of it. Yeah.
You're like, oh man, I'm gonna hit her with a doozy.
Yeah.
Especially about a grandpa. My grandpa is very important to me too. So
Mhm.
I appreciate that. So this picture, I can't get it to go any further than here. Can you please tell me what's up with this picture?
Yes. So there was, at one point, my family and I were on a vacation to North Carolina. And so we had a rare opportunity to sneak away to North Carolina. We were originally planning to rent this house. But at the last second, we didn't. It was too late to do that. And so we got a hotel instead. But we were driving past it to see if maybe we could, just see it and see where it was, and we could go next year or something if we were able. And it was funny because this was like the one house that was available the whole time. And my mom made the comment, she's like, watch it be haunted, and that's why it's available or whatever.
Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. I'll be out there with my equipment.
we took pictures of it. And that was with the window down. So it's not a smudge. And
so we're talking about this little anomaly right here. If you can see the rest of the picture, for everyone watching, it's crystal clear. And then there's this blurry anomaly right here, as if there's like an oval standing in front of that.
It's not motion blur. You can even, if you zoom in, you can kind of see how it sort of overlaps part of the boards, and then in other areas it's behind the boards. It's just so strange, and it's in the general shape of a human being. And so
it is as if it's a perfect, because usually, an average male is about like so, and then if you see the part up in the corner, it almost looks like someone's raising their hand.
Right.
Like they're like trying to get their attention.
It does look like that. It's so strange.
All the paranormal evidence I looked at, I've learned what blobs and pieces resemble in my mind.
So the picture before this was empty, as well as the one after that. There was no precipitation. There was nothing moving in front of the camera, and this was the window rolled down in the car. So it's not a smudge.
No.
My mom has taken this around to a couple of different paranormal groups.
Typically, if your lens is smudged, it's not just one single smudge. You've been collecting smudges throughout the day. So I find it very interesting. And where was this? Oh, you probably said. I apologize. Where is this located again?
Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
And on the ocean?
Yeah, I was on the ocean. Mm-hmm.
On the ocean? Man, I'd be interested. Did you ever do research into the place?
I did not. No, but I should. I should see what's up.
If
You're the
you
first
still
person I've ever shared this with on a show like this. So this is another exclusive you're getting.
I thank you. It's creepy confidential.
We're loading you up.
Yeah, I love it. Give it to me. Because I think one of my favorite things is looking at old pictures that I didn't take. Maybe, because you can find things in pictures that it's random anomalies, but you look in the glass in mirrors and the glass in windows. That's usually where you're going to see something strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I love them when you can clearly tell the window has no glass and you can see something.
Yeah.
Because then it's not just something in front of it. But that one's a weird one. it's just like a random obscure.
So you've done your share of ghost investigations, right? Is this
Oh yeah.
yeah, how do you feel this sort of like stacks up in the realm of apparitions?
For apparitions, I would say that there's no actual, like, you can't see body parts, you can't see a head or feet or anything like that. But the fact that it goes in front of and then behind the pieces of wood
Yeah.
is interesting. Because I can't prove it so, and I can't prove it not.
Right.
So, and then if you at the top of it, it's almost as if the color, it's also taking the color away. The wood behind where the hand might be and the possible upper torso, it's as if it's in black and white, but the lower half is in color. It's a weird one.
Yeah.
It's one of those where I would have to like get a bunch of pictures and check it out. Is this some place that you would ever go back?
Oh yeah, I love this area. I don't know if I want to stay at that beach house, but maybe.
So I have a possibility if you are in that area. If you have, because I assume you have like a regular old phone, like like we have, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So there is, just for the sake of argument, there's an app on there called the Spirit Talker app.
Okay.
You can install it, and I love it. It's designed by these two UK gentlemen called Spotted Ghosts. They do some other scientific equipment. I like it because you can take it off the internet. You can put it on like travel mode, and it can't take in any information then. So it's purely pulling from what's in it. A huge catalog of words. And it never just spits out words that are just letters. It always spits out words. But not to say that everything you have to take, at full stamp value. But I'd be interested if you just walked around the area or the premises and see what it pops out.
Okay.
If you remember it. If you remember it, I'd be curious. Or if you have an address you're willing to share with me off air.
Sure, off air.
I would like to do that, yeah. Because I don't want creepers showing up.
You just call it the Blue House,
Yeah, the Blue House.
Yeah.
Those types of locations are interesting because they're not, no one says it was haunted. They don't say, come stay at this haunted location. It's just you collecting evidence. So, so Jess, I take it?
I do know Jess.
So that app is cool. So Jess, have you tried using this on airplane mode and not on airplane mode? If you happen to get a second,
I would like. Have you had much success with it? That's a good question.
Yeah, I learned about it from the two guys of What Goes Bump in the Night, which is funny because I'm actually wearing their merch, not my merch.
Very cool.
It's not like they live all the way up in Michigan. We met each other via online. They're more paranormal, but they do everything like creepypasta stories and everything like that. But they get to really field test it a lot, and so I get to hear more about it. And I used it with my haunted objects, which I thought was fun because then I could get like lots of data.
Haunted objects. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, did I get your attention?
Yeah, what do you got? What's
Yeah. So I have because like I said, I've been a paranormal investigator for a very long time. I have two of the Northern State Hospital in Sedro-Woolley, Washington. The entirety of the hospital itself is still there, but the whole lands where they essentially used them for like voc rehab. So they have like a bakery and a woodshed, like you could have cows there. It was for people to work that trying to use your brain. And that is all, it's just down to rubble. So these are from that.
Wow.
And I think I have them behind me, but they're not in their case. Do you just want to see them not in their case?
All right.
Are you intrigued?
Behind the screen, aren't I? It's not gonna.
Yeah. No. You'll be fine. It was more for me. We found that when we were there, we had them on one part of the property, and as we walked around, we would get more data and answers and EMF activity if we had them out. Like as if, because someone's touched them, someone's used them, and there's theories. Can never remember what the theory's name is called, where it's essentially this piece has held on to energy of the 5,000 people it's
yeah,
touched.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
I can't, something stone theory. Anyway, hold on. I still have them in my briefcase. I have this. Hold on. I have this super cool vintage briefcase that I carry.
That is cool. That's legit. Yeah.
It's heavy.
Nice Men in
Old
Black style
Samsonite.
briefcase there.
Yep. So at GhouliCon, they got to watch me carry these in and out in this briefcase, all wrapped up. It's like, you're not going to get anything from them, guys. I promise. They've just been and seen a lot of places. They're not anything too crazy, but my watch is trying to fall off. So they're these.
Whoa.
They're valves.
Yeah.
So they're completely, rusted up and everything. But I found that I would just put these in their case and run the Ghost Talk, like the Ghost app next to it, just to see what it spits out. And I also have photographs of like the death log from the hospital and things like that. I think what really makes more energy, like more things pop up, was the fact that of the thousands of people that died there, years later, they found these silver food cans at another funeral home.
Mm.
They had been taking them there, cremating them, and putting them into a group food can.
Wow.
So that's a lot of, that's just bad,
yeah.
bad mojo.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not even particularly believe in all the hoobly jeebly about a lot of things. Yeah.
Scientific term.
Yeah, that it is. It's a scientific term. I'll probably put it in a book. But I feel one's probably aluminum, and one is probably a little heavier, probably like steel or something like that. But they still have the dirt and everything around them. So yeah.
That's pretty cool, Noelle.
Yeah, I brought them to GhouliCon, and at my big display, I had them in a little case, like a clear case. And then this just sat next to it so people could interact with it. Cool. But if I left, they left. Yes. People are weird. I love people, but people are weird. I have, so this Jess person, just quick comments here. Haven't used it. I do watch Paranormal Files, good show, on YouTube, but it seems to have some pretty neat results. I love that somebody else used the words neat. Thank you. They need to bring that back.
We're bringing back neat.
I love neat. Didn't so clarify. Okay. So
Very
those
cool.
are just fun things. I think with 16 years of paranormal investigating, I want to start teaching people how to properly do it and not just be rude, showing up places, getting yourself killed.
And I do like your suitcase. It reminds me, I was back at the first Encounter Quest. I don't know if you've heard of that one. That's run by Jess from Broken Branch Studios. And he had this big suitcase of alien implants. And yes, this was Daryl Sims, the alien hunter. And we were there. One of the best parts of these shows. Hi, Zemi. Friend of mine from college.
Cool.
Jess knows him too. So this was we were, one of the best parts of these conventions is just hanging out afterwards with all of these amazing and interesting people.
Sure, like swapping stories, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm shocked because over the course of the last year, 2 years, all of a sudden all these different festivals have popped up. And so as a result, the Winslow Hoffner series has had this great renaissance of popularity on account of all these new paranormal and folklore and cryptozoology conventions. But we were hanging out after the first Encounter Quest, and Daryl Sims was there, and he had my friends from Cryptids of the Corn.
I like them. They're cool.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
I pop into their lives in the morning when they're drinking coffee.
They are the best. Been on the show a lot. Shout out to them. They asked, hey, our friends here, they came late. Can you show them some of the alien artifacts that you had? And then he's like, okay. And so he goes, at first he says no, he's busting our chops, and he walks off. But then he comes up with stuff that he hadn't shown during his original presentation. And he has all these little like weird implants, and he's telling us all the stories about them. And he's like, be very careful with this one. This is an especially small one. He has special enclosures for each of them. And then Justin, he grabs it and he's like, he pretends to eat it. And he freaks out Daryl because apparently someone has tried to do that before on him, and he just lunges over the table at him. So, he's like, I got it right here. I got it right.
He's like, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm good. So yeah, that was really funny.
Are these? I mean, I don't want to give up the show, but are these things that he's been presented from people, or he's created them?
Yeah, no, apparently he's like, these have been removed from people, and they don't have like he's had them analyzed, and they're apparently from beyond Earth, somehow.
Sure, like materials that they can't.
Yeah, based on the materials, it's extraterrestrial in origin.
I'm fascinated with that. So are you familiar with the Barney and Betty abduction?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right. So her dress, the proteins from her dress, they still can't.
Mm-hmm.
They can't find. They just don't exist.
Very
it's not
weird
to say that they're human, or not human, but it's just something we don't know.
Right.
I was like, that was mind blowing that they could have left. It's like I wouldn't have thought. I don't know why I thought they would have been in like the aliens in this like sterile suit, surgery style. But I guess they're just, coughing and sneezing all over this.
I guess so. Yeah.
or other, but I don't want to think about that. And it's wild that. I mean, there can be truth to that. If you put it through different science, different instrumentation, and it doesn't know where it came from, it's alien. That's literally what that means.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. I want to know about that guy's show. Does he still do it?
Yeah. His name's Daryl Sims.
Daryl Sims? Is it like a traveling show?
He was one of the special guests at Encounter Quest. That's, I just know that he's been at it for a long time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to any of the alien ones yet. I'm always worried. You never know what you're going to get. It's that fine line. I feel like Bigfoot people and regular run of the mill, I'll say researchers, there's a line. If you're not scruffy and dirty and rolling in the mud, you don't know shit. Pardon my language. Or you're the opposite, where you have all the crazy Bigfoot plaster casts and you just want to talk about it, which I think is interesting. So there's that in every single division, aliens, other cryptids, Bigfoot specifically, because that seems to be a hot topic.
Oh, sure.
I'm learning to field the different types of people. Put it that way. Because there's lots of them, lots of like different personalities. Have you ever approached any of I'll say people within the Bigfoot field for like a book or something like that, or other cryptid people that?
Well, in terms of my own research, I kind of at the moment I'm sticking to the sea monsters. Eventually, I'll drift into the more land stuff, but
land dwellers,
the land lubbers. But right now I'm the sea monster guy. And I will be giving a sea monster show at Jessica Carlazzi's event in Massachusetts, which is pretty cool. So I get to
go everywhere.
Yeah. So Cryptid Fest Massachusetts on September 14th, I believe is the date. I'm going to be a special guest there. I'm going to be doing my Sea Monsters Cryptids and Storytelling show.
I love it.
Which was a show
the events that you've mentioned, do you have everything on the website where you're
everything's on michaelthompsonbooks.com.
So you're great at that. Oh my gosh. You're all the things. That's fantastic. And then, so for, and your friend Zeem, did I say that right?
Zaim, yeah.
Zaim, Virginia Swamp Monster.
Swamp Monster. Yeah. I'm sure we actually do have one, and and I've only just like recently heard of it. Virginia doesn't have too much. We do have, I quite like the Snallygaster. We have had, historically some sightings.
I hear that one a lot.
That's a cool one. We have the Bunny Man, although I don't really consider that a cryptid. It's just a guy in a costume with an axe, so I like the Snallygaster quite a lot.
I like the creatures. The creatures are fascinating.
Oh yeah. And the more obscure, the better. The weirder, the better.
Yeah, and where they came from, and like the shapes and how the people depict. Because every single person that has seen the same creature, your interpretation is a little bit different. The eyes are bigger or smaller. The arms are longer or shorter.
Yeah.
So I love that.
It's kind of the fun of writing these books is the speculative biology, because I like to take these things as much as I enjoy a fantastical story. Sometimes like the best fantasy is making it believable, and that's kind of the experience of the book. We've got a cool one. I got it on a magnet here. we got this guy. He's featured in the second book. I don't know if you can see him too well in the light, but this is the Afonk. Here, I got him on. He's on the cover. He's roaring on the. There he is. You can see him better.
I don't know where it is though.
There's the Afonk there. Percy.
Interesting.
And he's roaring on the shore there. This was an obscure medieval legend from Wales, said to be a water demon. And classically, one of its most major depictions is that of a hybrid between a beaver and a crocodile. And I thought, okay, how do I make this believable? Because it's already quite wild, and it's exactly
like
the
fuzzy
perfect
crocodile.
Yes. So I mean, that's one of the options. Maybe it's like a mossy, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, how do we achieve that flat tail and that fur while having that crocodilian head and making that biologically cohesive?
Yeah.
And then
make it make sense, like scientifically.
So one of the ways that I like to interpret things, and I did this with a couple of monsters, is just think of them purely in silhouette. And then I think, okay, so what does this look like just in silhouette? And I think that looks like a big platypus, know? And so then I begin my research and I say, okay.
Oh my God, like an 800-pound.
Yeah. And so I start searching and I, ask the mighty internet and
the Google
books and the Google and has there ever been a more massive precursor to our modern platypuses? And as it turns out, there was, and it was named Obdurodon theracouschild, and it had teeth. It even had teeth. And so that's
teeth.
Yes. And so it was discovered in like 2013 because of one of the because of a tooth that they found. And from that, they discovered this big old, it was about the size of a child, but it's still bigger. And so I was like, okay, we can extrapolate that and have one like the size of a bear with slightly more impressive fangs to arm those great jaws. And that's what we got. So that's the direction I went with Percy the Afonk in book 2 is a big monotreme.
Since you made me think of it, the last question I'm going to bother you about. What is this furry creature I keep seeing in all the pictures with you guys?
Oh, the piranhalope?
It's a piranhalope.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Do you happen to have it nearby? Are you willing to share?
I don't have it right nearby. I do have the picture here.
Okay.
I could maybe run and grab it. It's not too far.
I keep seeing this little creature. I'm like, what are they holding?
Okay. This is the picture from chapter 3.
Okay. That's the face with the little antlery ears.
Yeah, he's got antlers. And so he's got coral antlers and a mane of seaweed. And so I kind of like when I was doing the World of the Orb books and I was in Comic-Cons, I was I had the orb from World of the Orb, and so people would take pictures with that. And then so I wanted a cool photo op for Winslow, but I wasn't sure what. And then had this inspired sort of thing. I can. All right, let's see if I can. 1 second.
Now I'm making you dive for something.
Yes, I'm diving. See, I keep him in this little treasure chest here.
I love it.
That's what he lives in. Because in
the collection in the book, you're going to have.
In the book, he's part of Millie Matterhorn's Museum of Maritime Marvels, which is like. Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I love alliteration.
And so here he is, right here. There's the piranhalope. We got him.
He is so cool.
Isn't he handsome?
Oh my God. So he reminds me of a relative of the fur-bearing trout.
That's partly what inspired him. So this was actually, if you want to get the inside scoop on this guy, this was actually that one of those singing bass, big mouth billy bass. I got this ages ago at a yard sale, and it never worked. I was about to throw it away, and then we had the inspired idea to transform him. He even talks. I don't know if you can hear. Let's see. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear
a little dinosaur growl.
Noise.
Oh anyway, so people can come and see the piranha.
Thank you for letting me see that.
Put him back in his little hole.
I had completely squirreled on that thought the whole time, and all of a sudden you mentioned the creatures, and I don't know why it popped into my head, and I was like, I have to ask about that before
as majestic.
I let him go.
Thank you.
It's majestic. I love that.
He was hard to catch. I'll tell you what. I had to put a full filet mignon at the end of my lure to catch him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, piranhas. I had a friend of mine who had piranhas, and he had red belly piranhas though. Those things are woo.
That's exotic. That's quite a cool fish to have.
They work. I have never been that close to like a predatory flock of fish and watched them move the way that they moved.
Did he drop something in there, and did they just like pick it apart?
Yeah, so there was probably I'll say there was probably about 8 of them or so.
Oh my.
And they like murky water, so you have to add an additive to it, which is a pain in the ass because if you're constantly cleaning the tank, it goes away. But you put that in, and he would use the big fancy goldfish with the big fins.
Yeah.
They're cheap, but they love them.
Oh, no.
And you would see no piranhas, and you would drop this in, and imagine from the murky, you would just see the front part of one of them. And it was if they were like, okay, tracking where it is, and all of a sudden it would disappear, and one would fly out of the murk and like start going for the fin and then go away. And another one would fly out and go up for the fin. They would completely disarm him before they would eat him alive.
Like wolves.
I was like,
that's scary.
I'm a
feel bad for that goldfish.
Yeah. I mean, at least once they were gone, the goldfish was like, but it wasn't like the movies, because you always see something fall in and it's like this frenzy.
Yeah.
No, they were way more calculated.
That's interesting. Yeah. I feel like I had heard that whole eating frenzy with prey being beset upon is kind of a not true. Those it got that reputation from like sort of starved piranhas that hadn't eaten in a long time.
Oh, sure.
When they were first showcased, that it was a more impressive display, and so when they were shown in that fashion, people.
And I also, fun fact, I didn't know that you actually can't see their teeth. People have their lips surgically removed so that you can see their teeth.
That I did not know either.
Which is illegal now.
God. Yeah, that's very sad.
It's like docking ears. Things you can still do.
Right.
So that was my fun fact on the show. This is how piranhas eat. Totally not related to anything, but creepy.
It is creepy and
and
nautical. So
yeah, and nautical themed.
Yeah.
But see, I knew that would work. So I thank you again. I've kept you for over an hour. I thank you so much for coming on. You had all kinds of people in the comments, which I think is fantastic.
Thank you, everyone.
I love an interactive show. We have one more, You Butter My Biscuit, saying, poor goldfish. He went fast, don't worry.
Yeah.
And so I have all the details for Mr. Thompson down in the video for whoever's watching this on replay. If you could leave a little fish in the comments so that we know that you have stopped by. Head over to all the socials. He has Instagram. He has videos where he's all kinds of interviews. And the books are absolutely fantastic. You will love his descriptions and the way that he tells stories. Thank you so much for being on my show, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
So we will leave you, creeps. And until next time, by all means, keep it creepy. We'll see you next time here on Creepy Confidential.
Bye.